Sometimes it's easier to talk about media by actually showing you how that media works. So I'm going to show you some basic things about drawing, paint, and printmaking to make it a little bit more clear. Drawing materials. We've got pencils of different varieties. They talk about different hardnesses. This is a 2H. This is a 6B. A 2H makes, if I'm pressing about that, normal sort of pressure applied to it, it makes that sort of line. If I'm doing that with the 6B, see how much softer it is? The higher the B, the softer the pencil lead. The higher the H, the harder the pencil lead is, and therefore the mark is considerably lighter. Use this type of thing for architectural or detailed types of drawings. You'd use this for more, giving you some more deeper values and darknesses, okay? Then we talk about charcoals. I've got a few types here. These are vine charcoals. They are very lightweight, very brittle. They look like pieces of charcoal, literally, from like a piece of, like a twig. They are meant for undersketching. Notice how they almost blow away. You can erase them easily away and draw into them and work over them. That's what they're there for. This vine charcoal is meant as sort of an underdrawing, sort of a sketching idea, but with charcoal. This is compressed charcoal. Usually comes in a stick about this long, these two little stumps here. And look at how deep and dark it is, and fabulous. Look what it does, it mushes. This is the difference between charcoal and pencil as far as how it makes marks. This one's for really deep work and deep values and creating that big dark to light chiaroscuro they're talking about. You can also draw with your eraser. This was just a regular old pink pearl like you'd get at school. These are art gum erasers, more heavy duty. This one's filthy. And this comes in a little square pack. Nice little, looks like a little gray square when it comes out of its plastic packaging. It's called a kneaded eraser. That is kneaded spelled like you're kneading bread. K-N-E-A-D. I'm drawing upside down here. There we go. Okay, kneading. So you need this kneaded eraser, and you can erase with it. And when you knead it, it cleans it. Okay? You can also, so you got an area that you want to keep, but you just want to lighten it up. Sort of like the old silly putty. You just press and lift, and see it takes away some of the material, but without damaging the whole drawing underneath. It doesn't mush it all up. And you can see it there on the eraser, and you knead it away, and eventually it will clean itself and go back to its original gray shape. Okay? That's a kneaded eraser. This is a charcoal pencil. Same idea as a regular pencil, except it's made with charcoal. And you can do all kinds of fine finishing works and things with that. There's such a thing as white Conti. This is a very hard, almost think of a crayon and, but super hard. And it's super fine, and it's good for detail type of work. It comes in lots of different colors. Black, rust, and white are the most normal. Alright, so that's drawing. Basic drawing mediums. Now we're going to talk about paint. Okay. Acrylic and oil paints come in these types of tubes. They're usually a little bit larger for professional artists, but these are student grade tubes. Okay. And they're the same consistency. They look almost the same coming out of the tube. But acrylics, which these are acrylics, are thinned and worked with water. Okay? Just like watercolor and tempera and gouache and all those water-based paints. Okay? Comes out of the tube, it's somewhat semi-thick. And you work and thin it. See how thick it is? It's almost like a little bit of like a gel, okay? You work it and thin it with water. See? Okay. But with oil paints, they look like this, but you work with it with this, or something like it. Acetone, mineral spirits, turpentines, things you find at the Home Depot. These are highly caustic and flammable materials, which is why schools don't really allow them to be used, okay? So that's why oils are more difficult to work with. Okay, you have to use this type of thing to work with them, to thin them, to clean your brushes, all that kind of stuff. watercolor and acrylic. They both work with water, but they're used in a slightly different way in a most important concept. With watercolor, this is a tube of watercolor paint. They're usually quite small, even smaller than this usually for your higher grade stuff. With watercolor paint, the white of the paper is what creates the white. Okay? You never add white to watercolor. See how that works? Watercolors all can be worked with sponges, and you can wet the paper beforehand. You may decide to do it kind of dry. There are also such things as watercolor pencils. They look like color pencils, but when you hit it with water, they tend to melt out, okay? This is a watercolor sponge. They're actually natural sea sponges, like you would see at the bottom of the sea, okay? That's what fine artists use in watercolor, okay? That's watercolor, but with acrylics and oils and that heavy, when I mean heavy, I mean this thicker type of paint. When they want to make something lighter or darker, they need to add black and white to it. This time you're not using the white of the paper to make the white, okay? That's the distinction between acrylic. See? Difference there. This is how you make it whiter with acrylics. Add some yellows and mix it around. And both oils and acrylics can create impasto, that thick type of paint treatment. Both oils and acrylics can do this, like Van Gogh used to use, okay, and make, okay? It's called impasto. With paints, there are different types of brushes. This is a fan brush, looks like a fan. This is actually a filbert, like the nut, filbert. I don't know if I can do this upside down again. Filbert. It looks like a flat brush, like this is a flat, of course. But it's got these two rounded edges here at the top. That's a filbert. This is a flat. This that I've been working with, which I've just lost somewhere, was called a round. This is a flat. I don't know what happened to my round brush. It's gone. Anyway, the round brush is like the one you used to get in your Prang watercolor sets and stuff. Oh, here it is. There it is, my round. Okay. Those are the basic types of brushes. All right. Okay, now that's paint. All right, yeah, we're going to talk about printmaking. Here, we'll just do it this way. There we go. All right. There are three types of printmaking. One is called relief. Relief printmaking is simply cutting away. I'm going to draw this right up. I'm going to turn it around to you. Carving into something. Like a piece of, like this rubber stamp here, or a piece of wood, or maybe even a potato or something. You've carved into it, like this stamp here. I've carved into it and left this raised surface. The raised surface is the part that's going to print. The ink is going to go right here. And the stuff that is below, that's been carved away, will not print. Thusly. This is relief printmaking. Bing! And notice how when I print and I don't re-ink, naturally it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, that's relief printmaking. An example of relief printmaking would be woodblock or stamping. Okay. Intaglio is the reverse of that. For intaglio, You use a metal plate usually, and you etch it with either a really sharp instrument, like an X-Acto knife, or other types of knives or tools or scrapers or scratchers or whatever, or acid baths, or all kinds of caustic chemicals. You cut into that metal plate and you leave Mars on the surface. Then you cover the surface with ink and you wipe away so that the top part is clean, and in the little scratches are where your ink stays. And that's what's printed. Does that make sense? It's this, but reversed. Now it's the interior that prints. For intaglio printmaking, which is how intaglio looks like when you're reading it, when you see that type of printmaking has lots of different types of that. Intaglio printmaking, there's mezzotint and aquatint and etching and engraving and monotypes, all that kind of thing. There's lots of different types of intaglio printmaking. This is intaglio. I'll write that down. And last one is called planography. Planography means literally on the plane. Okay? Literally on the surface. So, let's do a little planography here today. Basically, if you were to take a piece of limestone and maybe draw on it a little bit or whatever, and then you covered it in ink, and you took your paper and you pressed down, there's your print. That's planography in its essence, on the plane. There is lithography and silkscreen and photo silkscreen. That's a type. Those are all types of planography. Okay. There's a nice YouTube in the printmaking thing that shows you how silkscreen is used to make regular printed T-shirts, like probably half of you are wearing even right now. There are different kinds of papers. When we talk about drawing and painting, there's ones that have a lot of texture on them, like this one here, or like watercolor paper. It's called having tooth. And some that are quite smooth, like this Bristol board, that is very slick and very smooth, and it's meant for more fine detail type of work like you would with design. Papers also come in lots of different colors. One thing I wanted to show you today was one of the last things about this is both used in painting and drawing, and that is a technique called scumbling. Scumbling. You'll see it in the drawing segment. This is a soft pastel, chalky. Okay, I'm going to lay some down on this paper. See the tooth of the paper showing through, that texture? That's what I like. That's what I want for this. Might be one area I'll kind of smush over it. All right. I'm going to take a can of fixative. Hairspray also will work, but it needs to be cheap hairspray, and it needs to be an aerosol. This workable fixative will keep that stationary, but will allow me to work over it. Scumbling is literally taking one color, fixing it down, and then working over the top this way, but still allowing some of the color from underneath to show through. You guys, I hope you guys can see this. Okay, that is scumbling. That's a technique used both in drawing materials, charcoals, soft pastels, oil pastels, and paint. Okay, that's it for printmaking, drawing, and painting. Thank you very much.